Most World of Warcraft leaks aren't really worth spending that much time on. Between fan-made concept art presented as internal documents, screenshots with no proof behind them, and roadmaps that conveniently just predict what everyone really wants, there's no shortage of people throwing things at the wall. And 9 times out of 10, the right move is to just wait for Blizzard to fully confirm something before really starting to talk about it. However, this one is a little bit different, and it's getting some serious attention right now from the WoW community, because this leak was first seen back in August of 2025, when it was supposedly a leak for the future of World of Warcraft, including retail, classic, and various other genres too. And back then it didn't really get any attention whatsoever, because the World of Warcraft has a lot of leaks. There's a reason I don't cover them all. But just the other week on June 16th, dataminers found something that leaked this old image with something that just started to hit their internal servers. And this is just way more than anything that could possibly be a coincidence. So let's go through what we have on the image, why it appears to be something rather legitimate, and what it could mean for the future of Classic. So as mentioned, this is a franchise slate for World of Warcraft, going over the future of the game and its various different versions. And given that this first appeared in August of 2025, it has matched up with a lot of real dates, such as The War Within launching Q3 of 2024, Midnight WoW plotted Q1 2026, and TBC Classic Anniversary releasing in late 2025 into early 2026. Mr. Pandaria on this was also due to come out mid-2025, and again, that checks out. The biggest detail though is codename Camelot, which appears under the Era or Camelot section of the presentation, and this is positioned to release around Q3 of 2026, which is when BlizzCon will be, by the way. This is also speculated to pick up as of patch 1.60, which is quite a leap from what we have at the moment, and is also kind of interesting, because Classic Era and Season of Discovery currently sit on a 1.15 version of the client. When you see a project on a completely separate branch that far forwards, it really does stand out. That is a massive jump in versions from what we're used to at the moment. I mean, regular Classic ends on 1.12, but Blizzard have been building on it a lot since then. The 1.60 figure likely signals that Camelot, or whatever this is being built on a substantially more modern and updated version of the Classic engine than what's currently running on the live servers. I mean, if you've played Classic for long enough, you've seen moments when different versions of the game have updates that mess up other versions of the game. Like when Blizzard put new world buffs in Season of Discovery and then they started to appear on Classic Era, or when Season of Discovery received some updates or raid tuning and it broke something in Classic Era in Naxxramas. This thing kind of happened like clockwork every single time there was a major update, because as far as I'm aware, they're having to try and deal with these two databases which are overlapping each other simultaneously, and it's just really messy. So I think if they are pushing something entirely new, then they will want to move to something which is more consistent moving forwards. But the biggest question will of course always be, what actually is Camelot? The most natural way to read into it is, simply put, it's Classic Plus that we're all expecting Q3 2026 around BlizzCon. We all know it's happening, Blizzard have been hinting at it forever, it's finally going to arrive to pretty much nobody's surprise, right? I also want to bring up a second possibility that could come alongside Classic Plus, because Camelot could function as a bit of a consolidation point for Classic Era realms, a permanent landing destination where characters from various progression tracks end up and stay, rather than being scattered across these different realm clusters. Because as you can also see in the image, they're going to be doing Classic Fresh again, and then TBC Fresh again, and this whole cycle is just going to keep repeating, so those characters are going to need somewhere to end up. Camelot could be like a kingdom of different servers where characters can go and stay, whilst Blizzard continually rolls fresh on and on. That's probably reading into the name of it a bit too much, because gaming companies do codename projects all of the time. This isn't unusual, but it could just be a coincidence. But beyond just Camelot, the franchise slate progression row tells its own story, partly through what it includes and partly through what is absent. So Wrath of the Lich King Anniversary appears in Q4 of 2026, sitting very close to the Camelot launch window. Now, Blizzard's official 2026 roadmap made no mention whatsoever of Wrath Anniversary, which has fed some speculation about whether it is actually going to happen. The slate suggests that it is, and the timing makes logical sense. I've also gone over Wrath Anniversary in some recent videos, and I think it's absolutely happening. Blizzard will have seen how much money they've made from TBC Anniversary, from re-releasing it, selling all the upgrade packs, selling all the boosts and so on, and they will want to capitalize on that again 100%. But you may think, hang on, Blizzard isn't going to release two separate versions of World of Warcraft that close to one another, and all I can say is, they do this all the time. It's really not unusual. It seems to me that Blizzard make the majority of their money on World of Warcraft when something releases, and then afterwards things are just kind of a bonus. The real life gold farm for them is when something comes out. We've seen it with TBC Anniversary. This is how Blizzard approaches expansions. At the start of it, there's loads of news, loads of updates, loads of blue posts, they're changing a bunch of things. It gets to that point where it releases, and now what? Now how many more updates have we seen with TBC Classic? How much more raid tuning? Have Blizzard paid attention to class balancing? Have they been making any more significant changes? No, that release window is done, and the expansion is just going straight until Wrath of the Lich King, at which point they'll start paying attention again. As for Mists of Pandaria, well, we don't have Warlords of Draenor on the slate whatsoever, and this just doesn't come as a surprise to me either. I mean, you can say if you want to look at classic and modern progression expansions, how a lot of people play them, which is raid logging, then WoD would actually be fine, because it does have 3 good raids. But outside of those 3 good raids, man, there is nothing to do whatsoever. On top of that, the raiding is only getting more and more difficult as we go through these expansions, and they aren't going to skip over WoD and go straight to Legion either. I mean, can you only imagine the amount of work that will be needed to get original Legion working again? That expansion had so many new features, they're just not going to want to invest the time into it. I've said it before with the classic progression expansions, but in the future, Blizzard will do everything through remixes. They've already remixed MoP, they've already remixed Legion, and they will end up remixing every single expansion from Cataclysm all the way to BFA across the next few years. I can basically guarantee you. Remix has proven to be a great way to keep retail players engaged during the end of an expansion cycle until something new comes about again, and they can recycle remix every few years so people can get rewards that they missed previously. It's honestly a genius long-term system from Blizzard here, but for Classic I've no doubt it's ending at MoP, at which point those characters are probably going to be put somewhere in the Kingdom of Camelot until the foreseeable future. I've no idea what they could do with them, whether they could merge them into retail, what would happen to all those collection items, because people will have Scarab Lord and various titles which wouldn't have been earned back in the day. Maybe those rewards could have a different ID and could be tagged Classic so people can see they're different, but who knows what Blizzard's options are here. There are a few more bits and pieces that might be of interest to you too. The franchise slate shows entries that have received less attention than Camelot, but are worth having a quick little talk about. In 2028 it shows a project called the Warcraft Chronicles listed as an RTS, with an anime series noted alongside it. A brand new franchise RTS by 2028 just sounds, I don't know. Blizzard already have what is probably the most successful RTS ever in StarCraft. Why would they go about doing something entirely new in a Warcraft universe? It's not the theme and characters which are why RTSs aren't as popular as they once were. It's because they're, you know, really difficult to play, and your players are a bit older now, so they're not as engaged with that type of content. Still, the anime series could be interesting. Maybe Blizzard took a look at Arcane from Riot and thought, you know what, we'll have a go at that just a few years later. Fashionably late for Blizzard as normal. And in 2029, the slate shows an Arthas ARPG with a live-action series attached. Again, this is kind of weird, like the RTS thing. They already have possibly one of the most successful ARPGs ever in Diablo. Why are they expanding outside of a franchise they already know works and makes a ton of money? I mean, as controversial and poor as a lot of people saw Diablo 4 being at launch, it's gone on to make well over $1 billion in revenue, so yeah, it's pretty popular. For me, if I was them, I'd already be well working on Diablo 5 and 6. Then again, Arthas is such a huge character in the Warcraft universe. Anything with his name and face on will surely do well. Then again, these entries are still quite far out, but I thought they'd be interesting to have a brief mention of. Overall though, this leak was quite interesting and I just wanted to have a quick chat about it, mainly because it first came up in August of 2025 and things have just hit Blizzard's test servers to suggest that what was on there is actually true. It's very rare you have 2 points you can link up together like this when leaks happen. What Camelot ends up being, I'm pretty sure, will be a code name for Classic Plus, and right now time is ticking down towards BlizzCon where we can finally get an answer on this stuff. So what do you reckon? Are you interested in this potential future of the game? Do you think Camelot will be Classic Plus? And how do you feel about them still doing Classic, TBC and Wrath Fresh in the future? They're gonna keep this cycle going forever, you know. We'll be playing this in the retirement homes. Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.